Hey guys, Josh here with Rocky Mountain, and this is my first impression ride review of the 2019 Can-Am Outlander and Renegade. Alright, so for 2019, Can-Am has continued to push the envelope on improving and developing their machines, and in 2019, the Outlander and Renegade have been no exception to that. So with both these machines, it hasn't been a complete redesign, but they've made some pretty substantial upgrades to these machines to make them even better. Now, most of the upgrades that they've done have been across both the Renegade and Outlander. So just for this review, I'm going to be mostly talking about the Outlander. So some of the things they've done to the machines to make them even better is they've widened out the stance. So now the Outlander is at 48 inches wide, and that's almost about 2 inches wider than the 2018 models. They've added a sway bar to the front suspension, and that is making it capable that they're able to decrease the size of the sway bar in the rear, and they're also able to soften up the suspension so that it's more plush over the rough stuff, but there's more stability while cornering while you're handling the machine. Now, another thing that they've added to both the 1000cc Renegade and Outlander is they've upped the horsepower. So now it's at 91 horsepower, where the 2018 was at 89 horsepower. And with that update, that makes it so that Can-Am now has, from the 400 class and up to the 1000 class, they have the most horsepower in all those classes in the market. So they're really going after, having lots of power, great handling, and just a machine that works and can be really versatile and have fun on. A couple of aesthetic things that they've also changed for these bikes is with the Outlander, the models that have the bumpers, they've replaced the plastic ends with steel, so those are no longer going to fall off. They've also updated the wheels and added a little bit of more aesthetics to kind of tie the ATVs in with the X3 and the Maverick lineup and the UTVs. So with some of those upgrades, one of the impressive things that Can-Am has been able to do is they've actually lowered their price on some of the big bore models that they released. And so they're getting upgrades and they're also making them more affordable. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to get on one of these guys and kind of give you a first-hand ride review while I'm riding it and let you know what I think. All right, guys, so the 2019 Outlander. Now I'll give you kind of a little walk around with this guy. Now with the Outlander and the Renegade, they have a ton of different options and packages, so you can really get the ATV that you're looking for that has all the parts and stuff that you're looking for, between mud racing, the XT, or just even the base model. And so for this ride review, I'm going to be focusing on the Outlander. Like I said before with the Renegade, that's their sportier version. It's going to have quite a bit different suspension, a lot sportier, a lot stiffer, it's less body, so it's got a little bit less weight, but they have the same engine packages in the Renegade. And I rode that one earlier, and I can just say that that thing is a beast. It is insanely fast, it is insanely sporty, and it's a lot of fun. So the new upgrades that we'll talk about here, a lot of them do translate over to the Renegade. So with this Outlander, this is the 1000R XT version, and so this has got all the bells and whistles. So right off the bat, you've got your drive modes right here. This is the ITC modes. If you have four-wheel drive, you've got your lights, you've got a winch, and you've kind of got everything you need. So let's get this thing started. All right, so first off, let's talk about the driving mode. So right now we're on work, and with the work mode, it's really just a tame throttle response. It has a governed speed, so you can't go too fast, and it's really just a good option for kind of just taking it easy. So, to get on it, first impressions with the throttle, it's nice and smooth. I can punch it, and it's not really going to go until it takes a minute to get going. So it's really nice if you're just casually riding, not looking to push it too hard. Now, if we hit the driving mode over to the right, we've got standard mode. Now this gives you a pretty balanced throttle response. You can get on it pretty good, and you can also kind of chop the throttle a little bit without it really jolting forward and giving you a wild ride. And then, of course, there's one more over. We've got sport mode, and that one is pretty fast. So with 1,000 cc's under this guy and the new 91 horsepower engine, this thing has got a ton of power. It's pretty impressive. What I really like about all these driving modes and even just the power in general is that it makes it really versatile. That's the biggest thing I noticed while riding this around, is that, you know, you can take it really easy and go real slow, you know, put it in 4 low and just chug over logs and really whatever you want, right? So we'll actually do that right now. We'll go into low gear, throw this guy in 4-wheel drive, and you can get into this really tight 4-wheeler stuff. But then when we get out on the open, you know, when we get back over there, I can show you, you know, you get that 91 horsepower in sport mode, and you, with the new handling characteristics like we were talking about before, they've got the sway bar, which kind of helps with the handling. They've got a wider stance. You really can drive this thing like a sport quad, and that's probably one of the most impressive things that I would say that this thing offers, is you can drive it in whatever you really want. You know, if you get the mud versions, you can take those things swamping, and you know, you're gonna have plenty of power throughout the range. And I really like in the driving modes too. I like the variable options. So if you want to just take it a little easier, you know, you can drop it down into work mode and it'll go even slower, and you know, you don't have to worry about chopping the throttle or getting a little out of control in some of the slower stuff. So I would say the biggest thing just is the versatility with the Outlander. Now, a couple other things I think are worth mentioning is they've updated the towing capacity. So for the 2019 Outlander, you can now tow up to 1,650 pounds. They've updated the hitch receiver so that it can tolerate more weight and give you even more versatility and kind of make it into a workhorse. And that is something that is going to be really nice for those people that are using these things as a workhorse, you know, working out on a farm or a ranch. Now, another thing I think is worth mentioning while we're in this tight technical stuff is the front differential. So they've got the Visco lock in their front differential, and so far it's been really, it engages really nicely. You know, there's no delay, there's no hesitation, and it's just really working well. You know, we've had a couple log crossings and log hops through this, and so far it's doing really, really well. Another thing that's new with the 2019 models is with the XT models, they have a new display and heads up, and I really like this one. It's really useful. I mean, it tells you exactly what mode you're in, with speed, your RPMs. It really gives you all the information you need, and it's easy to see even in the daytime or, you know, at night when it's illuminated. So there's just a lot of fine features like that that I think are, you know, they just kind of make the difference for you while you're riding and make things more enjoyable. All right, so now that we're on this straightaway, I kind of wanted to give you guys an example of the sport mode and kind of using that whole 91 horsepower for this 1,000 cc motor. So let's get this guy in sport mode, and what do you say? Let's do a 0 to 60 on this guy and kind of give you an example of how much power this thing really has. There you go. So pretty incredible power. It's quite a rush, and this thing really just goes. You know, if I keep it in sport mode, you can kind of hear how much it's just rumbling and grumbling underneath me, and it just wants to go. So it's pretty impressive motor, and it's really smooth with that ITC throttle control. It smooths things out, it makes it more fun, and it gives you a lot of variety to just make the ride more fun. Now that we're out kind of on more open trails, I just kind of want to talk a little bit more about the handling. You know, this is something that's really impressive, is this thing feels so sporty. With that sway bar, it really helps with the body roll, and it just inspires a lot of confidence. So you can really push it when you have an open trail, and you can just have a bit more fun, especially in that sport mode. Another thing I want to talk about, and this goes for both the Renegade and the Outlander, is the power steering. I mean, the power steering is really precise on this, and in the slow stuff, you're able to really kind of put the machine where you want without having the handlebars get jerked out of your hands. And even in stuff like this where it's a little bit more open, and we got some ruts, I can really just kind of put this where I want, and the ruts don't really throw the grips out of my hand, and it just kind of gives you a really controlled, smooth feeling, and something I definitely appreciate. All right, let's wrap this thing up, shall we? So overall, I'm pretty impressed with what Can-Am's doing. Between the Outlander and the Renegade and the improvements they're making, you know, they're not just small little upgrades. They're actually making meaningful improvements to improve the handling. You know, like this is a big ATV, and to make improvements so that you can push it and have a little bit more fun, have more confidence and more stability, but also not take away from how much of a workhorse this thing is able to be and how capable it is in that slow stuff, I think is the kind of upgrades that people have been looking for, and it's the kind of upgrades that people want. And so, you know, after riding this thing back to back with the 2018 model, you know, they are big improvements, and they're just a lot of fun. So that concludes my first impression ride review of the 2019 Outlander and Renegade. So if you have any questions, or if there's anything I didn't cover you want answered, make sure and comment that below. Be glad to get those answered for you. And if you like this video, make sure and hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You know, we're always trying to put out new content for you guys to keep you in the loop and help you guys out. So thanks for watching.